Hello, everybody. On behalf of the Highland Park Public Library, we'd like to welcome you to Library in Your Living Room. This is Shelf Isolation, a Readers Roundtable mini-series about books, culture, and what to read next. I'm Sarah, and this is your Information and Reader Services Department. In this episode, we are excited to share with you what we have been reading, watching, and or listening to during Shelf Isolation. To begin our mini-series, I'm going to turn things over to our Readers Roundtable expert and moderator, Michelle.
Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle. I first wanted to talk about a book that I actually just finished this morning. It is an illustrated memoir by Robin Ha. It's called Almost American Girl, and it takes place in the early 90s. It's about when she was 13 years old, and what she thought was just a trip to Alabama with her mother turned out to be a start of a new life when her mom announced that she's going to get married. So then she starts at her new school, and she finds that she's having a terrible time connecting with anybody. She doesn't know any English, and she's just having a terrible time until she finally meets a friend in which they connect through their love of Japanese and Korean comics. It's really nicely illustrated, really bright colors here. There's a lot of Korean culture. She is from Seoul. So it's a really nice graphic novel. It came out recently. There it is. Secondly, I wanted to talk about a book that I am actually in the middle of, The Seven Husbands of Elaine Hugo, right here. I'm listening to it. I'm not very far, but I hope that I will be able to finish it so I can talk to you guys about it soon. And last but not least, I'm revisiting one of my favorite games, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, which is a adventure courtroom game where you are a newly minted defense attorney named Phoenix Wright, where you are defending your clients in court, and you just go through scenes and you collect evidence, and you just want to prove that your clients are innocent. It's a lot of fun. It has a lot of really great characters, a lot of humor. As you can see, I play mine on the Nintendo DS, but if you want a more up-to-date, you can also get it on the Nintendo Switch, the PlayStation 4, or the Xbox One. And I'll turn it over to Gus.
All right. I second that, Michelle. That was Phoenix Wright is a fantastic game. It's available on all systems, so please, if you get a chance, check it out. Everybody should do that. Okay, so lately I have bought a new blender. Now, I know that does not sound exciting, okay, to most people, but I've been looking at this blender. I've been trying to incorporate more greens and fruits and all that stuff in my diet. So I found this Vitamix blender, and those are very expensive, but I found a refurbished one for a good price. And thankfully, I went to our Overdrive app, and I found a fantastic book. It's called The Healthy Smoothie Bible. It's by Farnoosh. It's available on Overdrive. It's really good because I'm not like a person like me. I'm a beginner when it comes to smoothies and things like that. So I don't really know what I'm doing. I probably just throw a bunch of stuff in there and hopefully it turns out good. But there's a lot of delicious recipes in here that I tried a couple, and they're really, really good. So if you're looking to, get more greens and things in your diet, this is a really good way of doing it. Farnoosh, The Healthy Smoothie Bible. So I highly recommend it. It came out in 2014, and there's like over 100 recipes. It also talks about the nutritious value of certain vegetables, which I thought was kind of cool because I'm a novice when it comes to, nutrition. So I try my best, and it's a great way of doing it. So that's what I've been reading. Also, I wanted to bring up another game, okay, because I'm a big gamer, if you saw the other episodes. Now, this year is, from the rumors are, it's the year of Mario. So I predict, this is where you're going to see it first. I predict this game right here, Super Mario 3D World. My prediction is it's going to come out this year for the Switch. So it's a great time to revisit it if you have a Wii U. Several of you, not that many, it didn't sell that well. But it's a great excuse to buy one because they're cheap. Definitely play this game, even if it comes out for the Switch. Definitely play it. It's a class 3D Mario game, which people like, and please do if you get a chance, because it's a great game. So that's kind of what I've been doing, just those two right now. And if you want to get more vegetables in your diet, get yourself a Vitamix blender if you can. All right, take it away, Karen.
Thanks, Gus. Okay, let's see. I have a general recommendation this week to try audiobooks, especially if you've never tried them, because among the books I found sitting here when I started my shelf isolation period was this book, which you probably can't see. It's part of a series by Fred Vargas, who is a French author. By profession, it's a pseudonym for a woman, Fred. By profession, she is a historian and archaeologist. And sometimes in the books this comes out, but not always. Now, I don't want to tell you a lot about the books because I can go on and on about these. They're so interesting and so funny. One of the reviews says, a wildly imaginative series. Anyone who enjoys kooky characters and intricate detail will happily follow Vargas along. Dry, ironic, yet fully engaged with the horror of contemporary reality. So that's a few of the comments on the inside. But my problem was, I don't know if you can see the bookmark in here, about halfway through. This is a very complex book, I thought. Looked short, like a paperback, but got halfway through weeks ago, and the longer you put it off, the harder it's going to be to get into it, I thought. So I was putting this off, reading more pressing things, and then I looked to another library that I am a patron of. I found it in audio, and I thought, oh, that's not ideal, but oh, what the heck, I'll try it. And I'm already familiar with the characters. It's not, I don't have a problem listening and not seeing it at this point, but I found it was a totally different experience to listen to this, to hear the French names pronounced pretty much the way I'd imagined them, but not quite. And, the expression the reader puts into it was nice. And now the other advantage is, okay, I'm getting caught up. I figure I will listen maybe to the whole 13 hours, but right now I'm not sure what I'll do. But every day I go out for a walk of about an hour, and I take my headphones and my phone with my audiobook on it, and it's just been a real nice experience. And I just wanted to recommend it to those who have not walked outside with your audiobook, for example, or I'm listening to something I've already read technically, but I'm recalling it, and it's been really painless. So that's my recommendation for the week. And next, Sarah.
My first recommendation, another audiobook, is Searching for Sylvie Lee by Jean Kwok. This is a story of a Chinese American family, and it's from the perspective of both sisters and their mother. It's not really a spoiler from the title. You can tell that one of the sisters has gone missing, and it's the story of her younger sister Amy going to the Netherlands to search for her. I really enjoyed it and would definitely recommend it for fans of Celeste Ng. It reminded me a lot of Everything I Never Told You. Not quite as much of Little Fires Everywhere, but I actually like Everything I Never Told You better. Sounds like there's some agreement. My next recommendation is another cookbook, Jamie Oliver's 5 Ingredients. Unfortunately, this is not on Overdrive or Hoopla, but you can get it when the library reopens. But a bunch of his recipes are available online on Jamie Oliver's website. And this is a great one because there are only 5 ingredients. So if you don't have a lot of food in the house, you have some options. So I was going to show a few of my favorite. One is the super green spaghetti. This is a kale pesto with ricotta. Very easy, very good. The harissa chicken tray bake looks fancy. You literally just throw everything into a pan and bake it. I did it with chicken thighs, not a whole chicken, which was easier. Delicious. One more. The speedy spiced shrimp soup. And this uses frozen shrimp, which might be a good thing to keep on hand in a quarantine kitchen. So that's Jamie Oliver, 5 Ingredients. If you happen to subscribe to Hulu, there's a show based on this book, which is fun to watch him make the recipes, and it makes it even easier. So, Jamie Oliver, 5 Ingredients. And then I had one recommendation from my 18-month-old, Little Blue Truck. He loves this book. We read it several times every day. So those are my recommendations, and I'll pass it on to Lisa.
So I have been rereading There Are No Children Here, which is not the lightest thing, but it's just really well written and beautiful, and it just as good as the first time I read it. The same author, Alex Kotlowitz, also has An American Summer, which happens to be a book club book at the library. I don't know if it's on Hoopla and Libby, but I definitely know that we have lots of copies that you can put on hold. So I highly recommend both. I've read both of them. They're really good, and I'm really enjoying the reread of There Are No Children Here. So that's what I'm doing right now. And then because I love comics, I'm also just casually rereading the first Calvin and Hobbes book off and on. So there's that. And I'm trying to start a new knitting project, but I thought it would be a good idea to do a really complicated lace thing, and lace and charts are not my strong suit. So I'm frogging the whole thing, but projects that involve learning are really good during this time. So That's what I'm doing. And I will pass that on to Sarah Marie now.
Okay, I have a few mini things this week. I watched the 2019 Little Women adaptation directed by Greta Gerwig with Saoirse Ronan, Emma Watson, Florence Pugh, Eliza, and Laura Dern and Meryl Streep and Timothy Chalamet. It is a gorgeous film. Know that it won awards for its adaptation, especially its costuming. It was gorgeous. I listened to interviews afterwards, and it is amazing how all of these people who are, you know, Irish and British and so forth and so on, and they just all sound American. It was truly fascinating. But this put me in the mind, along with Michelle's last week mention of the miniseries. I watched then the 2005 Pride and Prejudice adaptation and just kind of got into a Jane Austen. So I read The Other Bennet Sister by Janice Hadlow, which talks about Mary Bennet, the sister who plays the piano, and she's the sister who's not quite as socially adept or as quote unquote beautiful as the rest of them. So it follows her story after the events of the Pride and Prejudice book. Then I also read P.D. James' Death Comes to Pemberley, which is a great murder mystery. I mean, P.D. James you can't go wrong with, but this was just kind of set in the world that I am, you know, find tried and true and comfortable. And then I listened to the Pemberley podcast, which is a podcast discussing the digital universe adaptations of Jane Austen. I'm giving it a few more episodes, but they did talk about, in their first episode, the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, which is a YouTube series, about 100 vlog style videos that are about 5 minutes max a piece. It's written by Bernie Sue and Hank Green of the Green Brothers, the Vlog Brothers. And Lizzie Bennet Diaries is about a 24-year-old grad student, Lizzie, as she video diaries her life for her thesis. It tells the story of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice set in kind of this frame story. And in addition to that, cultural-wise, I tried making the Twitch and online famous Dalgona whipped coffee recipes. I will tell you, I've done it twice now. The first time I did it, I hand whipped it, which was a chore, and then I put it in my KitchenAid for today. The recipe calls for like an equal amount of instant coffee and sugar and water. And today I made it with half of the sugar because it was too sweet for me. And let me tell you, you need to put in all of the sugar because it was way too bitter. And with that, I am going to turn this over to Lori.
Thanks, Sarah Marie. This week I took a break from The Mirror and the Light by Hilary Mantel, and I read a book I picked up on the way out of the library when we closed, The Road to Little Dribbling by Bill Bryson. And it's really funny. He's written many books, and he's lived in England for many years. He is from Iowa, and he is kind of wry and acerbic, and I just laugh out loud. Literally, I just chuckle as I read it. It's kind of curmudgeonly. He says things that my inner voice says. You know, Mad Magazine used to have snappy answers to stupid questions, and they're in that vein, and he writes them. Anyway, it's very funny. It's a funny book. So I know he's written many books. I'm sure they're available as ebooks. So I would suggest, you know, you guys look into that. Another thing that I did this week was I looked at the Library of Congress has the National Film Registry online, and I looked at some old films that they had. Some were really short, like 1 or 2 minutes from, you know, the 1900s. And I looked at one called In the Street. It was by James A.G. Janice Loeb and Helen Levitt. And it's a silent film. It's about 10 minutes long, and I believe it was in the 1930s. And it's just all these street scenes from New York, different people from different areas, kids playing, older people, younger people. And it was just kind of neat, especially in this time when, you know, we don't see many people outside, and you can watch this film and you can see people as they were living in New York City, and not wealthy people, just regular people. So I highly suggest, you know, you take a look at what the Library of Congress has on offer. And the final thing I wanted to talk about was that singer and songwriter John Prine passed away yesterday. He was in his 70s, and he died of COVID. His work really holds up. Several of his albums are on Hoopla, and his first album, John Prine, which is on Hoopla, has some songs that he writes about people, like he's telling a story about them. And he has one called Sam Stone, and it's about a returning veteran. In 1971, he was returning from Vietnam, but it still unfortunately holds true today, just the difficulty of coming back from war. And then he writes, some of his songs are very funny, some of them are very topical, but they all hold up. And I suggest that you go on Hoopla and give John Prine a try. I hope you enjoy it, and he should rest in peace. And next is Nancy.
Hi, thank you, Lori. I am also rereading something this week. It's available on Hoopla. However, I'm reading it in the original language. It's Manolesco, and what inspired me to read it was, again, the Ravinia programs, because since its debut in the 19th century, the Puccini opera Manon has been a global favorite. It really has. It comes back over and over, Chicago Lyric Opera, but it's based on a book. It's a really fun book, and I think it holds up today. It was a banned book at the time. It was written by a man who, he joined the Jesuits, he left the church, he had an affair, he joined the military, he went back and became a Benedictine. So I think this novel is a great adventure, and the adventures go on much longer than the opera. The opera stops at a certain point, but they just go all over. They go to New France. It's a fun adventure. If you want to read it in French, it's on Google Books and Happy because it was published, I think, in 1731, so it's not a copyright. English, again, it's on Hoopla, and this story has been made into more than just one opera. There's been multiple operas and movies and ballets, two enduring heroes, I think. So enjoy if you want to, either the music. The movies I could not find available on Canopy or Hoopla. You'd have to wait till the library reopens and get a DVD. The other music I discovered this week with the Ravinia grant was something I could not find anywhere on YouTube, on DVDs. I found some music online. It's by a Michigander named Eric Lamarter, and he wrote it for music by a Nobel Prize winning author, playwright, Maurice Matanly. I'm not familiar with him, but some of his stuff's on Hoopla, so I'm gonna have a look, and symbolism and music. So I hope we can find that music and play it in the next year while we finish this grant, digitizing Ravinia's archives. And of course, of all the most fun in all of these programs that we're digitizing are the ads. Here's an ad for Gillette Razor, and it is safe, it's new, it's gonna make you more successful. It's called the Gillette Tuck Away, and it retails gold-plated for $6. Now that's not cheap, because according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 1925, $6 was $89.69. So this is a nice answer. So that's me this week.
Hi everybody, I'm Catherine. Like Gus, I've done a little bit of self-improvement reading this time around. So I read 12 Steps to a Compassionate Life by Karen Armstrong, which is available in our Overdrive collection, so you can find it using the Libby app. Karen Armstrong is a really interesting scholar. She was a Roman Catholic nun who eventually left her order, but she started her doctorate. She's Oxford educated, and now she is well regarded as a scholar of the history of religion and of comparative religion. So 12 Steps to a Compassionate Life is, as the title says, in 12 steps, but it's really just about ways that you can get to know more about people who are not like yourself and basically be more compassionate. So I liked the book. It's not a very long book. It's sort of set up that the suggestion is you read through all the chapters, which bring in a lot of religious history as you would expect from Karen Armstrong. And then she kind of suggests that you go back and sort of work through it step by step. I kind of would have appreciated if at the end there were like a worksheet on, here's some exercises you can do to actually go through each of these things. But on the other hand, it probably is, better for learning and better for improving oneself to actually work that out for yourself. And the steps are things that are pretty easy. It's not weird stuff. It's just choose a religion or culture that is not your own and learn a lot about it and share that with your friends. So you might learn about the holidays of a particular religion or a particular country, and then celebrate some of them yourself at home, things like that. So it was a nice read, just for this time of just being in our homes, and to think about things that we can learn without leaving our house. Another book I finished was I finally read March, book 3 by Congressman John Lewis, along with Andrew Aden, and illustrated by Nate Powell. These are pretty familiar to a lot of people. I got through the first two and for some reason had never read the third one. So I thought the third one was the best one, in terms of structure of the story and how exciting it was. If you're not familiar, with these books. John Lewis, who is congressman from Georgia, I think he's 80 years old now, but he was a major figure in the civil rights movement. And this is sort of his autobiographical story of that time in his life when he must have only been in his 20s. So it's amazing. I think the first book really talks about how he first got started and how young he felt. By the third book, he's a few years in and more experienced, but even then, I mean, it's amazing what he accomplished as such a young man. This book 3, starts as, I think, 1963 with those events, and it goes up through 1965, the attempts to march from Selma to Montgomery, which were finally successful, and the passage of the Voting Rights Act. And now, as we aren't sure what's happening with a lot of the primaries and how people are going to vote in November, it really resonated with me in terms of the ongoing need to make sure that every person has the opportunity to vote and how we can make that happen and how important it is to make that happen. I believe these books are all available in Libby as well in our Overdrive collection, and at least 2 of them are available in Hoopla, maybe all 3. So you can read those at home as well. And they're probably most suitable for high school age and above, maybe a little bit younger, but it's something, that kids can read too as a great way to study history. And I think the high school even had March as one of their summer recommended books a couple of years ago. The third book that I read is a book that is not out yet, so I had an advanced copy from the library that I had brought home. It's called Hollywood Park by Mikel Gillet, who is a musician and a journalist. He worked for Filter, and he's been on All Things Considered. It's his autobiography. It sort of goes from the time he's 5 years old up till more or less the present, but it really just kind of goes through his entire childhood. What stands out in his life is that he and his family were members of the cult Synanon, and the book starts at 5 years old when his mother basically collects him and his brother and they leave the cult and they sort of strike out on their own. He has a sort of relationship with his mother's partner who was also in the cult for a while, who's part of their family. And his family, how they got involved with Synanon in the first place is that there's a lot of addiction. Both his parents sort of wound up in the cult for that reason. So there's like these continued addiction problems throughout the family and just kind of the things that he deals with as he's growing up, his brother deals with as he's growing up. I thought it was a good book, probably not as good as it could have been as he had focused more on his adult life. I felt like he went like very step by step through his entire childhood, but then just kind of skims over his adult life, which in some ways would have been more interesting to learn about. But overall, it was a pretty interesting read. And it comes out, I think, May 5th. I checked right before we started recording this, and the publisher has not moved the date yet, but a lot of publishers are changing publication dates because they're just not sure when they can get books out. So it's one to look forward to. And now I think it is time for Stephanie.
Thank you, Catherine. Surprisingly, I read another mystery, this time Agatha Christie and Its Cat Among the Pigeons. I found this at the Renaissance bookstore in the Milwaukee airport, which is a wonderful place. And it originally cost $4.99. It's held its money because it was $4.75. But it's actually a different type of Agatha Christie book because it's not like taking place in a house or something. It's taking place at the Meadowbrook School, a very elite school. But it also has 2 stories going on because there's also sort of this espionage side where this pilot and this heir to a Middle Eastern, he's like at that time the ruler, and anyway, he needs to get out of the country with some jewels. And so anyway, the brother, who's the pilot Bob, decides to hide the jewels in his sister's daughter's luggage. And then he and the prince fly off, and of course they crash, but that's not telling it. But then anyway, then the story starts taking place because then this girl goes to this exclusive school and somebody, believe it or not, gets murdered. So anyway, the story goes on, and it's really good. It has lots of twists and turns and things that you don't expect. And it's also about 2 ladies who found the school, and they're kind of nearing retirement, and the word dole keeps coming up because the one keeps feeling like it's time to quit. The other one doesn't feel so much that way. So anyway, it was a really good and enjoyable book. And then to top Gus, on his healthy eating, I decided to make from this book Seriously Delicious sugar cookies that are to die for. And I even have a visual for you. They turned out like this. They're not very low cal, but they are wonderful. And this is a cookbook that a lot of her recipes, she's the wife of Carson Daly, and a lot of her recipes can be found on Pinterest. But this book is available in our consortium. I don't believe it's available for downloading. So then this morning, I thought, gosh, I'd really love to have one of those sugar cookies. But I thought that's not a really good thing for breakfast. So I thought, why don't I find a breakfast cookie? This book is available at our library, and this is also another series, Seriously Delish. There's a breakfast cookie in here that has like flaxseed, oatmeal, peanut butter, coconut oil, all types of things. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like, and you tell me which one you would rather eat. So it's a little dense, it's a little cookie, and it has a little bit of chocolate chunks in it. My husband actually liked that one better. And this is the guy who's always like, why do you put chocolate in everything? Well, if you have to ask that question, don't eat a cookie, right? So anyway, but this one, it's good, it's dense, it does fill you up, and it is healthy. There's only like 2 tablespoons of brown sugar in it. And that's all I have for you today. And I'm gonna turn it over now to Jackie.
Hi, everybody. I've been reading some of my kind of books that I enjoy reading, which are fast-paced thrillers or mysteries. So the first book I'm talking about is Sandra Brown's new book, Outfox. This is about an FBI agent, Drax Easton, who is on the trail of a man he believes is a serial killer. He knows him as Winston Graham. Winston Graham is accused, according to Drax, of romancing 8 wealthy women. Their fortunes disappear, and they also disappear. His first victim may have been Drax's mother. So his FBI colleagues tracked down a gentleman he thinks he may be him, named Jasper Ford. And Jasper is married to a young woman, Talia Schaefer, who has money. So is Talia possibly the next victim? We don't know. So Drax moves next door with the cover story of being a writer. So he is surveilling Jasper Ford and Talia. And because it's a romantic thriller, he has an interest himself in Talia. But through his investigation, he's not sure if she is actually involved with Jasper's con or if she's his next victim. So it becomes kind of cat and mouse between Jasper Ford and Drax. And it's a very good Sandra Brown book. If you want to read something that's a very quick read, try any of Sandra Brown's book. The next, the most recent book in the Didi Warden series. The nice thing about this book is that the last couple of books, she's been changing points of view. So you have Didi Warren's point of view, and Didi is a Boston police sergeant. You have an FBI agent, Kimberly Quincy, who is the FBI agent in charge of this particular task force. Flora Dane, who was a victim of a serial killer, but she survived him and became an avenger, and now she is a police informant. And the last person is a young girl called Girl, who is a maid in a local bread and breakfast. The book takes place in Georgia, in northern Georgia, in Appalachian Mountain, and a body has been found in a grave, and they believe that it's about 15 years old. And because this person whose body it turns out to have been may have been a victim of Jacob Ness, who was a serial killer, the FBI was called in, and Kimberly Quincy, who's been after Jacob Ness, to try to find out if he could possibly have been a killer. So it's very interesting, and as usual, there's always a good twist in that. So this is a really good thriller if you want to read just a nice, good mystery. And then the last thing that I've kind of been doing is watching some TED Talks. I got to thinking the other day, you know, sometimes you just need something that can take you out of what's going on in the world, and the news is sometimes kind of too depressing right now. So I've been listening to some TED Talks, and the nice thing about those is you can find anything, any type of subject, whether it's current events or science or space, whatever you're interested in, there's going to be a TED Talk about it. So that is kind of what's going on with me. Oh, the other thing is, they're like your census form. I saw the city sent out an email the other day, and like Highland Park has done 54% self-reporting. So Good job, Highland Park. So I'm going to turn this back over to Sarah Marie.
Okay, well, that is it for us today, folks. As always, please remember we are all here for you. We are available for comments, questions, or concerns, any that you may have. You can reach us online through Facebook at facebook.com/HPLibrary, through our Twitter, which is @HPLibrary, or via email at hppla@hplibrary.org. You can also find all of this information online through our website, which is hplibrary.org. Our music today was Carefree by Kevin MacLeod. You can find more information about this and the titles we mentioned in our show notes below. Okay, everyone, this is us signing off. Until we see you next, stay safe.